Hi, welcome to Absolute Sewing. I'm going to show you how to replace a hook pinning gear on an Elna Star Series sewing machine. The machine where the gear got stripped is the Elna Special. The first things you need to do, you need to remove the needle plate, your needle, your pressure foot, your feed dock, and your left and right bed plates. I'll show that to you now. First thing you need to do is remove your needle. While you're doing this, you can always make sure that your needle can go in all the way, because sometimes a lot of grime gets stuck in there and it prevents your needle from going all the way in, and when your needle sticks out too long, it can cause skip stitches. First, it's probably best to remove your bobbin case first. Before you do it, just note how your bobbin case actually fits in before that stopper over there, and it actually, the other bit of your bobbin case actually hooks in there. Yeah, just take note of that, and then you obviously remove the left little holding screw, and then you remove your right holding screw. Okay, and just use a thin little screwdriver to undo those little screws. Yeah, then you can just pull and lift your bobbin case out, and that will reveal your little screw holding your hook. Sometimes if you turn your hand wheel, you can actually hear a grinding sound on your hook, and then you know that your hook gear is most likely damaged or broken or cracked. What I found, actually, if you do hold your hook in place and you turn your hand wheel, your hook will stand still, and obviously you can still turn your hand wheel, and then you know it's definitely stripped. Yeah, this little diagram just shows you how to remove the 2 screws from your feed dock and the 4 screws from your 2 bed plates, your left bed plate and your right bed plate. Here I'm just using a Phillips screwdriver just to remove the 2 screws on your right bed, and then the 2 screws on your left hand side. The next step is to unscrew your feed dock. It's always a good idea to maybe just support your feed dock from underneath, so you don't put too much down pressure on it when you have to unscrew it. You don't want to damage or break anything when you do this. Yeah, this is just the assembly of your hook, and you need to remove this little oiling screw from your hook before you can lift your hook out. I've used a flat screwdriver, and that easily unscrews it, and you can just lift the screw and a little washer out, and you can lift out. Yeah, removing the hook, remove the screw in the center of the hook and lift it up and out. They say it's not necessary to remove your bobbin case, but I would prefer to do it. It will just make it much easier when you put your hook back, and it gives you opportunity to clean your bobbin case and get all the fluff out and maybe reset the tension.
Hi, this is Absolute Sewing here. I'm just going to show you how to set a timing on a Elna Star Series sewing machine. This machine is is the Elna Supermatic. Yeah, I'm just going to run through the steps quickly. Just taking the machine apart. Go and do these 4 screws on the side. Take over the cover. Oops. Take the cover away. Take your Phillips screwdriver and just take these 4 screws out. Yeah, this will remove your bed plates, and then your bed plate on the left, and that will just pull away. You can just pull that cover away. Next step will be to remove the bobbin case. There's two little screws on the side. I'll just flip this forward, so you just need to unscrew that one there, and the one on the left hand side. So we just got to take those two out, the two holding screws. And then your hook will come out. The other thing you need to remove is your feed dock. There's two little screws holding it. Just going to get that one loose as well. Now I just take a little smaller screwdriver just to turn it out. It's much easier and a little bit quicker. Yeah, it's probably a good idea to take your needle out, otherwise you might catch your finger on it. Oops, a little bit more. Okay, that will remove your... Hey, come on. That will remove your feed dock. It's always good just to clean all the dirt out and the gunk in between your feed dock. And now we're going to take this little screwdriver and lock the oiling screw. That's going to go anti-clockwise. Now you can see I can just take that little oiling screw, turn it anti-clockwise, turn it till it comes out. Now I can pull it out. Okay, and if you look now, there's like a little stopper that's actually stopping your bobbin case from coming out, so you need to turn your hand wheel a little bit and pull this back, and then your whole hook will come out. You gotta wiggle it a bit, wiggle, and then you have your hook out. Okay, the next thing, to set your timing, you have to, after you've replaced the gear, you have to drop this back in, but you need to get your needle at its lowest point. It's called the bottom dead center. You must make sure it's absolutely at a low.
Yeah, I'm just you might have to wiggle it and push this little stopper backwards and turn your hand wheel, so then you can actually lift it out. Otherwise it actually gets stuck on that little point there. The next thing you have to do, you have to remove the guard plate so you can actually see the gear that's below the guard plate. That's just removing the second star screw from the guard plate. After you have removed the guard plate, you'll see the hook pinion gear. You just got to take note of where the pin is in relation to your gears. In the next picture I'll explain a bit more about that. Okay, before you remove the old gear, note the two pictures below and place the new gear the same way as the old gear is positioned on the shaft. Do not allow the shaft to turn while slipping the old gear off and new gear on. The machine should be in time when the gear is replaced. Yeah, if you don't do too many settings, you can potentially just take off the gear, slide it back on again if you follow these instructions and take note of the gear, and then you just need to align your needle and the hook, and that's all you need to do, and you don't need to set your timing. There's a little spring roll pin that needs to be knocked out, and what I've used is a little pin punch, and you gently tap it to knock that pin all the way to the bottom so you can get it out, and then maybe just get some pliers and just pull it out. You might still have to turn the the hand wheel a little bit if the spring roll pin hits the bottom of your machine. This is what it looks like once you've removed the gear, and you'll see there's a little hole at the top of your shaft. Yeah, just take note of that little hole in your shaft. This is the gear that I've removed with the little roller spring on the side, the little pin that needs to go back. When you get your little gear, just take note of how your gear lies in relation to your actual hole, and just match your old gear the way it was in your old machine. Then you can just squeeze that little pin, the new little pin in, but don't push it all the way through because you need to slide it over the shaft. And you can just slide it over the shaft, still with the pin out, and just sort of push it down, maybe with a screwdriver, and just seat it so it actually goes into the little pin, goes into the shaft hole. Then you can just push it in, or maybe use pliers, long nose pliers, and just grip it at the bottom and at the top of the pin, and you can just squeeze it in gently. Make sure not to damage your gear. Now you can see the gear's been nicely fitted. It's like the little pin is sticking out by like more or less like a millimeter. Just make sure they're even and they won't touch the frame at the bottom. So it's not too deep. So yeah, so it doesn't touch the frame of the machine. I just want to point out this little oiling hole, which is neglected a lot of times. If that does run dry, this whole unit gets sticky and will make a huge knocking noise. And yeah, so you just need to clean it out, and then your feed dock and feed mechanism will work much better. In this little clip, I'm just replacing the guard plate. And here I'm just giving the worm gear on a hook just a nice good clean. This is actually quite important for the next step. You need to get your take-up lever and your needle at a lowest position, which is called the bottom dead center. When this take-up lever is all the way to the bottom, exactly at the bottom, then your needle will be on its lowest point as well. Just got to make very sure of that. Here you can see the needle is all the way down, and the take-up lever is also all the way down, and your needle alignment is in the center. Okay, let's start with the trickier part of the whole repair. Something that's obviously very important is that your hook point must pass above your needle eye when it comes around. There's precise ways of doing it, or you can do it by dropping in your hook into your worm gear, and do that until you get it right and your hook passes just above your needle eye. If it passes below your needle eye, then you will suffer from skip stitches. Normally what you do, if you drop when your hook point is around about there, and you drop in your hook, then when you start turning your handle, it will lock in, and it should pass just above your needle eye. But that's just guessing it, and there are some methods which I'll try and explain in the next couple of slides how to do that. Let's have a look. Yeah, this is once you got a timing in and your hook is set correctly, you'll see it's passing just above your needle eye. A good test is actually to put your needle alignment onto your far left, and to make sure that your hook point passes above your needle eye. But when it's set on the left hand side and not in the middle, it should just pass above the needle eye, because if it passes too high, you will suffer from skip stitches, especially on a stretchy kind of material. That's what I found normally. If the timing is too fast and it passes too high above the needle eye, when you sew cotton, you won't have any problems with skip stitches. But once you go to lycra or any stretch material, um, the the machine will start skipping stitches.
Hi, in this little video I'll just show you how to remove your hook if you need to replace your hook pinion gear. So you just need to turn the hand wheel a little bit forward, just lift it up and it will just slide straight out. When you need to replace your hook after you've replaced your gear, you need to get your needle at its lowest position, absolute lowest position. Take your hook and place your hook point exactly behind your needle. Drop it down till you feel it's resting on the gear. Gently press it down. You can feel it sliding down. Let it sit. Now you need to turn it and it will just drop in. And you can see that your hook is passing behind your needle eye. So you can just steal it and just move your hand wheel slightly and just see that it's moving freely and it's not sticking anywhere.
Oh yeah, yeah, you can find the description on how to set your timing and refitting your hook. As they say, you should have your needle on its lowest position, and you need to slide your hook in and get it to slide in and slide just above your needle eye when it spins around. If you have problems with your timing and you can't set it exactly, you can set your timing from the bottom, and by doing that you'll have to remove the three screws on your bottom plate. Slide it out, maybe give it a good clean because all the oil deposits there. And when you once you take it apart, you'll see there's your shaft, your timing chain, and your timing pulley. What I've discovered in the past that I found there was a slight play here, and when your machine runs, it actually moves left, right, and it actually causes a knocking sound. Probably the easiest way to resolve that is by slightly loosening your screws without moving your machine and putting your timing out, and you push your pulley and your spacer towards each other, and then you retighten your grub screws, and yeah, and then that will take that away. And this is also the place where you define the timing between your hook and your needle. You do that by loosening that, and then obviously turning your your hook so it slides behind your needle eye correctly. This is not a step that I'll advise for anyone to do because it is quite difficult if you're not experienced with it to get it right. But you might have to do that if your timing on your hook is out. Yes, at the end you just have to refit everything and make sure everything works. Make sure your feedlock aligns perfectly and it is not skew or and rubbing against your needle plate. Yeah, I normally before I start running the machine, I'll just turn my hand wheel just to make sure nothing is sticking or that your gear is seated properly. And once you can see everything is running freely, then it's time to run your machine, run it a bit faster, make sure everything is nicely oiled. Then that should be fine. If someone has trouble with the timing, then I'll try to make another video at some point just to explain it in a more visual way because it's quite hard to explain it with words and not seeing how it's done. And I hope this video helps someone. And yeah, good luck.